With the country still shaken by Hurricane Melissa's impact, the Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has announced the transition from emergency response to long-term recovery. While addressing the financial burden of the national tragedy, the Prime Minister laid out a multi-phase roadmap to restoration. Crystal Williams has the recap.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the ministry will now adapt a systematic response to relief victims. In the last press briefing, he says ministers of government, members of parliament and other public servants have been going to affected communities to manually issue aid as much as they can. However, it might be time for the plan to advance.
In the initial few days, there was a scramble. As of today, we are out of that phase. That is what you have been seeing. People individually going out there trying to relieve the human suffering. But that is not a sustainable response. The sustainable response is what you would see the government doing now.
Dr. Holness says the next step the ODPEM would need to take after the disaster preparedness stage is that of emergency management, which mainly entails the relief efforts being organized. He also says the JDF is more than capable of providing necessary manpower to pack relief items, load them onto vehicles such as helicopters, and distribute them to impacted communities. He says the time frame for emergency management is a lot longer than first assumed, based on further planning done by the office.
In the relief phase, there may be a sense that we will do this for a few weeks. I want to just bring everybody's mind to the reality that this will be a few months operation. And that the country needs to understand this. We have relief entities here. Some of them are capable of carrying out long-term relief. But most of them are not.
He says he has been working on making sure the government develops the staying capabilities to provide constant relief assistance to the affected areas. He also reminds this is something the country has never had to do on such a large scale.
We don't have the exact number of persons who are impacted, but we can estimate that it would be somewhere in the region of about 600,000 persons. 6 parishes and other divisions and constituencies in other parishes that are impacted.
He also acknowledged the international support being received. He says as he continues to engage with world leaders on how they can play a contributive role in restoration, the assessment of the damage and loss of physical assets is an ongoing process.
We have lost farms, we have lost businesses, we have lost schools. You would have heard me say in the presentation to Parliament that the damage could be anywhere from 6 to 7 billion US dollars. That is a conservative estimate.
He also says the subsequent phase of emergency management will add even more to these costs. He explains that in addition to losing productive capabilities, the country's finances will now have to contend with additional expenditure that was not budgeted for.
So the 6 to 7 or $8 billion, that's just what we have lost. What we have to spend additionally, we are in that process now of totaling it up to see what it comes. Then the recovery phase.
He says managing information is also a critical part of disaster management.
If you allow people to cast your nation into despair and grief, to smother hope, to ignore the heroic efforts that people are making, and to just focus on the negative, then we'll have a negative outlook in a time when we need people to be positive in their outlook about our recovery. So I ask all Jamaicans of good mind and goodwill to stand up to those who are seeking to become popular on negativity.
The Prime Minister says he has tasked the ODPEM, the JDF and the Ministry of Social Security with the standardized hurricane relief process, and that it must be provided in a way that protects the dignity of the Jamaican people.
Even in a disaster, we must maintain our dignity.
Crystal Williams, CVM News.